Good evening. Tonight, we're bringing you the show from Cambridge Bay Nunavut. We've been taking Northbeat on the road to celebrate the show's 30th anniversary this year, and we're excited to be in the Iqaluit region. This week, we'll bring you stories from Cambridge Bay, including the story of the Kugluktuk Cultural Campus, where I'm standing right now. But first, here's the news. Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts in Cambridge Bay Nunavut. Major funding cuts to Jordan's Principal continue to reverberate across the north. The federal government announced the cuts in February. They've been impacting communities ever since. Now, some say it's about to get worse as kids head back to school. Marissa Mayer tells us how Yukoners could be impacted.
The Yukon First Nation Education Directorate says its rural nutrition program will not be ready in time for school this week. The program usually provides 2 healthy meals a day to almost 900 children in Yukon communities. YFNED says these meals are crucial to children's education.
If you're hungry, how can you be successful in school? And I go back to how can you be successful, right? If we're trying to make it through the day and we're hungry. That's not about school.
Bennett says the program may never be the same. That's because in the past, YFNED had to submit one group request to the federal government. Now it needs to send hundreds of individual applications for each child hoping to access the program. Bennett says this change can be triggering for some because individual requests need to include Indian status numbers. Bennett says not all children have these numbers, and for some families, they may not feel comfortable sharing them.
It's very triggering for a lot of families, their parents, because it goes back to residential school and how they got those numbers and what they stand for. So to be identified by that again, I know that that's not what the Human Rights Tribunal wanted. And for the government of Canada to make this now a requirement as part of the application process takes us so far back.
Bennett says YFNED has also lost some funding for its mobile therapeutic unit. The unit provides services like speech-language pathology, occupational therapy, and behavioral therapy. Bennett says the unit has lost 3 staff to the cuts, and 2 have been placed as on-call due to financial instability.
Emotional would be a small word on it. It is such a roller coaster ride. And I keep looking at it as my emotional roller coaster ride is probably pretty small compared to the families who are trying to access the service for their children.
Bennett says she hears from worried parents every day. Kim Rumley's 3-year-old granddaughter Ava is a Buntuck-Gwitchin First Nation citizen and is autistic and nonverbal. The family lost funding for Ava's speech-language pathology in February, and Rumley says finding other funding has been difficult.
It's really difficult. It takes a lot of time and energy that would be better served being spent on Ava. Not supporting her in her needs puts her at further risk as an Indigenous female in Canada. And she deserves to learn how to talk and express her needs.
The Council of Yukon First Nations also had to cut a $6 million program. The Necessities of Life program provided food, clothing, and shelter to over 400 families. CYFN Executive Director of Family Preservation Services says this gap will be felt even more as children return to school and expenses increase.
We know the historical traumas that our communities have faced, such as Indian residential schools, day schools, just the deeply entrenched poverty that has come out of, the Indian Act and those sorts of larger national policies. And so again, I think this is just a re-traumatization and a triggering of, our families not being able to get the basic necessities of life.
Chambers says CYFN is currently fighting federal decisions on funding cuts. Bennett says Ottawa continues to delay decisions to approve programs. Meanwhile, she says YFNED is diversifying its funding. Marissa Mayer, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Yukon students are heading back to school this week, but there's still some vacant teaching positions that need to be filled. The First Nations School Board is still looking to fill around 10 positions, including for language teachers. The board says it's the lowest number of vacancies had over the last 3 years. Meanwhile, the Yukon Education Authority said around 11 positions are vacant across the territory. One of the authority's superintendents says despite the gaps, several positions were filled, including all principals. There are also more than 200 teachers on call.
That is a very strong position to be in. I've worked in a few different jurisdictions, and so we're at 98% capacity with our hiring, and that's just a very strong position to go in, compared to other places that I've worked in. So we are just feeling really positive about the start of this year.
In Yellowknife, the government of the Northwest Territories is reporting high levels of lead in the water at NJ McPherson School. The GNWT announced the test results on Saturday. It's the third school in the city where tests have shown higher than acceptable levels of lead. The NWT's chief public health officer has ordered the school system to be flushed daily. The government tested 22 sinks and fountains at the school. All the high lead levels were found in classroom sinks. People can still use drinking fountains at the school, and the assistant superintendent for the YK1 school district says the school will also provide alternatives to the drinking fountains. In May, parents and staff at 2 other Yellowknife schools were notified that drinking water contained high levels of lead. The GNWT says it plans to test all schools as soon as possible. In Nunavut, a fire damaged at least 2 homes and 2 vehicles in Iqaluit this weekend. The blaze broke out Saturday night at an 8-unit residential building on Anuri Street. 2 vehicles were also burning at the scene. Crews worked on the fire late into the night and opened up parts of the roof to help fight the fire. A resident of the building says the situation came as a shock.
Oh, the smoke is like really thick, and I know it's a fire. It's really, because I can see like the fire and the thick smoke is already coming to us, like in my way. I got scared really. Like, when I saw it, I said, oh, this is not happening.
The fire appeared to be out by Sunday morning. As of Monday afternoon, there have been no reports from the RCMP or fire officials of anyone injured. There have been no other updates on the fire. Community members are organizing donations online for those affected, and the fire is currently under investigation. Not very many people are charged for wildfire-related offenses in the North. In fact, NWT Fire hasn't laid any charges for breaking fire bans or starting wildfires in the last 2 years. CBC's Leanie Lambrink explains why.
NWT Fire says people are to blame for a small portion of the territory's wildfires each year. That's especially true when you compare the numbers to other parts of the country. Campfires, vehicles, fireworks, cigarette butts, arson, these are all examples of ways humans can cause wildfire, intentionally or not. 15% of wildfires in the NWT were caused by people last year, according to the Canadian Forest Fire Centre. The territory comes second only to the Yukon for the lowest rate of person-caused fires. Elsewhere, the figures get much higher. Half the wildfires in Ontario, Quebec, Alberta, and Saskatchewan are person-caused. In some Atlantic provinces, almost all of them are.
We have the fortune of having person-caused fire being a relatively small component of our overall fire load.
But the low rate of human-caused fire in the NWT isn't the only reason the territory lays few charges.
Education works well. You don't want to be being reactive in terms of just using enforcement as your tool. You want to educate people so that those situations don't occur to begin with. And again, it's not to say that enforcement isn't an important piece of the puzzle. Like I say, there are investigations open into fires. Investigations do take some time.
RCMP investigated a wildfire in Fort Good Hope last year, but they closed the case a few months ago without laying charges. They did charge a person in 2023 for starting fireworks during a fire ban. The rate of person-caused fires in the NWT is even lower this year than it was in 2024. Westwick says so far it's sitting at about 11%. Leanie Lambrink, CBC News, Yellowknife.
For 35 years, the Kamatsiaqtut helpline has been a listening ear for people in Nunavut and beyond. Now, the founder is putting together a succession plan just as demand for this kind of service is growing. Samuel Watt has that story.
Good evening, you've reached the Kamatsiaqtut helpline.
The Kamatsiaqtut helpline has helped many people talk through their troubles since 1990. Founder Sheila Levy says the service has come a long way from its humble beginnings.
We had enough that we were given a little cupboard, literally a cupboard, in a office building.
She's looking to hand over the mantle soon, but there'll be challenges for that person, whoever they may be. Currently, the helpline operates 5 hours a night from Nunavut. The rest comes out of the Ottawa Distress Centre. Levy says they only receive $150,000 from the territorial government each year for a 24/7 service, so they rely a lot on funding from organisations. And then there's the issue of people not knowing the service exists.
We put together packages of posters and magnets and cards, etc., and send them to all the communities. And we ask that they get distributed.
Now that they've joined the National 988 Suicide Crisis Helpline Network, there's even more demand for Kamatsiaqtut's services. That's only accounting for the people who do come forward, but Office Manager Yuri Podmorov says they are trying to reach people where they are. That includes a pilot project where they go into hospitals to meet people who are struggling.
So that, they know that in the future they'll have somebody reach out to them, that they'll have somebody to talk to if they need to, and set up like a time for when they need.
Kathy Hansen has volunteered for the helpline for 3 decades. During that time, she says she's made numerous sacrifices to be there on the other end of the line, but she does it because of the demand she sees for someone who can speak their mother tongue.
When they hear the other end and it's a Inuk speaking, they're crying, and they know that somebody is just like them and they're going to understand.
And that's why they're all working hard to keep the service running, no matter who takes the lead. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
There's help if you need it in English and Inuktitut. You can call the Kamatsiaqtut helpline, the Embrace Life Council, or the Kids Help Phone. All of those numbers are on your screen right now. And for the Kids Help Phone, you can also text TALK to 686868. Leadership in Denenukwe First Nation say the remains of at least 14 people have now been discovered near Fort Resolution NWT. They're concentrated on the site of the old mission school on Mission Island. The origin of the formerly unmarked graves is unknown, but in the community, there's a sense of relief in discovering those thought lost. Carla Ulrich reports.
Earlier this month, the Denenukwe First Nation chief Louis Balsley held a small ceremony at the grave site. Carpenters built wooden cribs, painted blue to mark each grave found so far. Elders offered prayers and placed rocks in the cribs, and a priest from Fort Smith blessed the site. For Balsley, it was a moment of acknowledgement.
You know, our people mourn, no matter who passes away. If we always knew them, we mourn for days and days. You know, our belief is that, they're still with us in their spirits.
For decades, community members suspected that children were buried near the old mission house. The first discovery was made public in early August when the First Nation announced 7 unmarked graves on Mission Island, 5 children and 2 adults. Now further searches have expanded that number to 14. The team behind the search believes most are children, though Balsley says a few may be adults. For Balsley, the recent ceremony recognizing the graves brings some closure for the community, but there is still a lot of work to be done.
And let's bring the children home. You know, when we started this program, it's to bring the children home to their families. And this is what it's all about, is to make sure the kids go home to their proper places.
Some of the burials were found in wooden cribs held together with hand-forged square nails. A detail Balsley said points back to the 1800s, when the first version of the school operated on Mission Island. Mapping and research have also played a significant role in the project. Balsley credits anthropologist and ethnohistorian Linda Vandenberg and her team for expanding the history of the community's main gravesite and identifying 70 names of children who never made it home from St. Joseph's. It's not yet known if they were students from the mission school, and Balsley hopes continued work will provide those answers. Balsley says their next step is to share the research they have completed so far with the community and then find the funding to continue moving forward. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Resolution.
Take a voyage with me to the vast, remote, most extreme place on Earth.
For many, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Where the effects of climate change are intensifying.
The poles are a very rapidly changing place.
And geopolitical cracks threaten peace and stability.
Do you think there's a security concern?
I definitely do.
Experience the historic all-Canadian mission. CBC in Antarctica. Watch free on CBC Gem.
The future is everything. Stories of incredible ingenuity, dedication, and some extraordinary teamwork. This is parenthood.
It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
All of this, just single detached homes?
Yes.
What do we know? I think we can explain.
About that with Andrew Chang.
My favorite word.
Tariff.
How seriously are you taking this threat?
It's the uncertainty that's the biggest issue.
Canada, we got you.
Elbows up!
Hello, I'm Paul Andrew. Here's George Tuckaroo with the news.
Thanks, Paul. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Carol Morin.
That's Northbeat for tonight. I'm Nadira Bag. Good night.
Good evening. I'm Randy Henderson. We start in the Northwest Territories.
Good evening. I'm Kate Kyle.
I'm Hillary Bird.
Shannon Scott.
Juanita Taylor, and this is Northbeat.
This year, Northbeat is celebrating our 30th anniversary, and this week, we're in Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. Tonight, we are live from the Kugluktuk Cultural Campus. The center has been open for almost a year, and it's run by the Iqaluit Heritage Society. The campus is a place for learning through culture. Here, elders, knowledge holders, teachers, and community members come together to revitalize Inuinuktun and to celebrate culture. Earlier today, I sat down with Helen Blewett and Eva Komek to learn more about their programming and the impact of the cultural campus. Helen, I'll start with you. If you could just tell me where we are right now and what this space is.
We are at the Kugluktuk building. Meaning, Kugluktuk means little stream, little creek, here in Cambridge Bay.
And what goes on here?
We do different programmings. One of them is sewing with our elders and residents. And we also have a lot of visitors from the community and from tourists that come into Cambridge Bay.
And tell me a little bit about what's going on around us right now. We have elders and elders in training sewing. So I guess on a day-to-day basis, why do people come to this space? What does it mean to them?
We work here Monday to Thursday with the elders. So this is what they do daily. They do sewing projects. And these sewing projects help them to run our programs. All the sewings that you see that they're doing, we bring them to the cultural center, the Mehakongak Library, and they sell them there, these crafts that they're sewing.
Eva, can you tell me what you're doing right now, what you're sewing?
I'm making duffel liners for comics, stitching, and then I do the embroidering with the wool.
And where did you learn that skill?
I think I learned my skill from when I was 5 years old or younger. My auntie was an avid sewer, and she sewed parkas, embroidered parkas and comics and anything to keep warm in the winter. She mostly raised me when my mom died, so I was always around her when she was sewing and watching her, so I could pick up my sewing from her.
And now you're also passing on that sewing to others that come through that space, is that right?
Yes.
What's that been like for you to be a mentor and be able to pass on your knowledge?
I love teaching sewing, especially to my daughter. She sews a lot too.
And what's it been like as one of the elders in residence here to have a space like this that's your own to do your projects and help work with people?
I love it. I love work. I love coming here to work every day, Monday to Thursday. Work with our elders, Mabel, Annie, and Mary, and with the elders in training, Kitty and Lucy, and with our supervisor, Helen. We're all in good group together. We're always sewing, and sometimes we go out on outing. If they need to get out of the sewing, we'll just go out for a day.
And I wonder if you can tell me, Helen, more about some of the language aspect and how people here are also helping to preserve Inuinnaqtun.
The elders in residence' first language is Inuinnaqtun, so we speak it every day. We hear it every day. Even our elder in training, Lucy, she's starting to pick it up. She's starting to converse more in the language. And I myself, I moved away for 15 years, so I didn't speak my language very much when I moved away. So when I came back, I struggled to speak it. And now working with these elders, I can have a full conversation with them. At times I struggle, but they help me and they correct me and show me tell me the proper way to say it.
So it's immersive, this experience. Eva, has that also helped with some of your Inuinnaqtun as well? What's it been like having a space where it's Inuinnaqtun first?
I love it as a residential school. Going to residential school too, I was losing my language, and then I married my husband, and his parents taught me a lot to try to get my language back, and from there I really started getting back into my language, but I'm still struggling. And we have teachers every day, they correct us every day. Sometimes it's hard to understand, but we're learning as we go too.
And I imagine having a space like this is really important for that learning journey and everyone being able to just converse and sew and laugh and be yourselves in the language.
When we do get students come into our buildings, either the library or Kugluktuk, they're like, oh, I just love hearing the language. I want to know what you guys are saying. I want to learn what you guys are saying. And we tell them, you know what? If you want to learn, you will learn it. Yeah, you just have to know in your heart that you do want to learn the language.
Is there anything else that either of you would like to say, or any messages you want to share with people that are on their own language journeys?
If you could learn one word a day, one phrase a day, that's how you learn. If you could write words on the wall, the door, the window, the chair in Inuinnaqtun and say them, it'll help you. Yeah.
And sometimes on my phone, I save the Inuinnaqtut word on the phone and what it means. It really helps.
Because we hear a lot of old words from these elders that we don't hear today. So we write them or record them on our phones and we practice them. Yeah.
Koyanna, thank you both so much for your time.
Honalo.
Honalo.
Year-round shipping to the Arctic could soon be possible through the Port of Churchill in northern Manitoba. The port's owner, Arctic Gateway, is partnering with an international shipping company. Arctic Gateway has signed a memorandum of understanding with Montreal-based FedNav. Arctic Gateway says the two companies will work together to evaluate a year-round shipping season. The Port of Churchill has a 4-month operational window each summer. Arctic Gateway's CEO says research shows climate change is affecting Hudson Bay's yearly freeze-up, allowing shipping lanes to be open for longer periods. The company says in a generation or two, those lanes could be open year-round. Talks between the two companies are set for October. The deal comes after an almost $80 million investment by the province of Manitoba and federal government to redevelop the port with an aim to create an Arctic trade corridor. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts in Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. Have a good night.